Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
A young professional named Chirag Shah has come up with a unique solution in the physiotherapy sector of medical industry. His company called Rymo focuses on accelerating physical recovery by providing objective and goal-based training using robotics and virtual reality.
Welcome to yet another edition of Changemakers. Technology-based solutions for physical rehabilitation can provide a wide range of benefits for patients. They can provide more accurate and precise treatments, reduce cost, reduce the need for manual labor, and even allow for more efficient rehabilitation. Technology-based solution can also provide a more personalized experience for patients, allowing them to monitor their progress more closely and easily. Today we have with us an entrepreneur who has made a mark in the field of technology-based rehab solution. Let us know more about it from the man himself. Hello Chirag, welcome to the Changemakers.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to the Changemakers and featuring our story. I'm looking forward to our discussion today.
Yeah, thank you Chirag for being with us. Chirag, what is the problem that you are addressing through your startup?
Startup is actually focused on a very specific domain, which is kind of encapsulated in our name itself. So the startup name is Rymo, R-Y-M-O, and it stands for Rediscover Your Mobility. In India and across the world, if you look at the number of people who are finding it difficult to move on their own independently, it is a whopping 2 billion people. Now, if you look at what they need to start moving themselves or become independent, the simple question is physiotherapists. But if you look at the vast difference in the number of skilled therapists and the number of people who require it, you realize that there is some drawbacks which come along with it, especially from a patient perspective. There are three major pain points. The first is they find it very difficult to understand whether they are improving. When COVID came and hit us, we all had our COVID reports, which showed us our different scores or severity of COVID. But in physiotherapy, it is very difficult to do that. So patients don't realize whether they're improving. Physiotherapy कुछ काम आ रहा है या नहीं आ रहा. Second problem is बहुत time लगता है. So it probably could take you 1 week, or it could take you 1 month, or it could take you even 5 years to recover your independence. So it is a very time-taking process if you do it traditionally. With the use of robotics or different technologies, we believed that we can kind of help them recover faster. And the third most important aspect is to make sure that people don't give up and they are motivated to continue. Like many difficult things, exercise is a very, very difficult habit to form, and not many individuals can do that. Physiotherapy is exercise when you are in pain. So nobody likes pain, nobody likes exercise. If you mix it together, that is physiotherapy. So for us, it was important to make sure these demographic people can recover, they can become independent and live life like they are supposed to, full of freedom and full of energy. So this is probably where Rymo comes in, to make people independent and live a complete life.
Yeah, thank you Chirag. Thank you for sharing your insights on the problem of your startup is addressing. It is inspiring to see the impact you are making in the healthcare industry. Chirag, please tell us in detail about the work that you are doing.
So thank you so much for bringing upon the impact that we are making. And that is probably the only reason why we began this journey. So far, I think so we have just touched the surface. Probably not even touched the surface yet. Going is just to cover up what we have been doing in the healthcare sector. First is we've identified the problem and the domain. We spent probably more than 2 years in evaluating the problem and spending time with patients and physiotherapists. In this journey, we learned about different aspects of rehabilitation, specifically physical rehabilitation and occupational therapy. And we've integrated that to technology and made a very portable and uh, easy to use device, which is built on the technology stack of robotics and virtual rehabilitation, or also known as gamification. These two technology stacks have been incorporated, and a company is now focused on making it accessible to the world. So we have kind of launched this in India. We have 20 plus installations across India. Probably we are now located in all the four metro cities, and looking going forward, we are looking at expanding this to the world. So we have just started, and though we have had around 700 patients in their recovery journey, I think so we could reach 7 million in the future. So that is why, I would stress on the point we have just begun.
But yeah, great. But you are saying that you just begin, but you are beginning with the 70 places already. Your device is installed in 70 places. It's good to know. From your informative response, it's clear that you have a deep understanding of the work you are doing and the impact it can have on patients. What are the advantages of using robotics and VR in the rehab therapy, Chirag?
So there are predominantly three advantages that we are looking at when we try and include technology in physiotherapy. Like I mentioned, the first problem was of lack of awareness or monitoring progress. So when we use or incorporate robotics or virtual rehabilitation or virtual reality into physiotherapy, you can measure. With robotics, you can measure how much a patient has moved, how much strength he is applying, and whether physiotherapy or whatever treatment he is doing, be it medicines or anything else, whether that is working. So you have a number to your recovery, and when you see progress, you kind of are more motivated to do further. The second thing, and the most important thing, is you get personalized training for accelerated recovery. Suppose, imagine you don't have any robotics or virtual reality training. You would end up doing a traditional thing for a few days and you leave it out. But with robotics, you can give a patient enough assistance which is customized for the patient. So even if there is a therapist who is not able to dedicate 100% of his time, they can still set the personalized protocol for the patient and get him to do the number of repetitions that they want. Especially in neurological cases such as stroke, it is proven that doing hundreds of repetitions helps improve the learning curve of the brain, which is also known as neuroplasticity. So with robotics, you can accelerate the process in which a paralyzed patient can learn how to do things again. So robotics can help you significantly in improving your neuroplasticity and accelerating recovery. The third most important aspect is engagement and fun. You don't need to pop a medicine every day to recover from such diseases. Generally, that is also not a way to go forward. So, what patients have to undergo is physiotherapy. Once you are stabilized medically, your medications can continue, but for recovery, you need to take the daily dose of exercise that you require through physiotherapy. Now, like I mentioned before, it is difficult. So, by introducing games, patients start enjoying what they're doing. They don't realize that they have worked out for half an hour, 1 hour, or sometimes even more. So when you immerse a patient and make it fun for them, any activity which is fun, you end up doing for hours. We watch Netflix for hours. All of this kind of, helps a patient recover. But predominantly the baseline is a good therapist with robotics and VR makes them super powered to treat patients in a better fashion. It is not an independent technology. It works with the physiotherapist, and it is like a superpower which helps you run X% faster or something like that. So that is how we our technology is helping the patients.
Yeah, great, Chirag. It's good to know the numerous advantages of using robotics and VR technology in rehabilitation therapy. It is exciting to see the potential of this technology to transform the industry. What all the certifications and approvals were required for your devices? How did you manage to obtain those?
So when we started back in 2018, just after the Smart India Hackathon, physiotherapy was not regulated. So when I say that any equipment being manufactured for physiotherapy did not require a certificate or a license, which is special. A normal license, which is required for an exercise equipment, would have been okay. But after 2020, Indian government has introduced multiple regulations for better managing the entire healthcare equipment area and physiotherapy, which comes under it. So it was, to be honest and very truthful, it was definitely surprising and stressful. Being fresh graduates, we were not aware of how we'll be able to do this. So to come back to your question, what currently is required is based on the classification of your product. It could be class severe class, risky, a higher class device if it's riskier, a lower class device is just safe, very safe and not much risk. You have to classify it and then take approval from CDSCO, which is central authority to regulate these devices. So far, Rymo started our journey for regulating almost 1 year back. And we are very happy to say today we stand on a position where we have international certifications like ISO 13485, which is the gold standard for process to maintain quality of your medical device. We have an electrical and mechanical safety certificate as per international standards, tested in a NABL accredited lab. And we have also received the necessary permissions from CDSCO. And a final few communication stages are ongoing, but we have the necessary licenses to sell in India.
Yeah, great, Chirag. Congratulations. You already obtained the international certifications. Thank you for sharing the regulatory process you went through to ensure your devices met the necessary standards. Hope it will be helpful for those innovators in the similar field. Apart from the technology or equipment, the vital part is that the therapist should be trained and skilled, and the patient should be motivated. How do you deal with this?
A very well thought question, and something that was on top of our minds right from day one. We have heard stories where there are expensive equipments which are not being utilized because of lack of training. So what we have done right from the conception stage, we've spent significant amount of time with the therapists with each of our prototypes as well. So we've asked the therapist to use our devices right from the early stages, and also the patient. So what we got was very early feedback from the customer itself, and which helped us build a very simple to use, a very user friendly mobile application, which the doctor uses or the therapist uses to use the machine, set different protocols, etc. With this, we have found out the training time to have reduced significantly with the easy to use product and just a 3 hour clinical training during installation. We have found our customers to become comfortable with the device, at least to start exploring the product, and then it takes around 1 to 2 weeks more of personal usage to get the confidence to use it without any doubts. To further on improve the experience, we have brochures, digital content specific to different parts of the body and different features of the product, which we share with the doctors, and they can refer that to train new therapists who join in or refresh anything that they've forgotten. So that kind of helps and reduces their reliance on the developer and the manufacturer in learning to use the product. For the motivation, what we have found is a demo session. So every patient, once they do a few sessions on the machine, we have heard the single most important feedback is the patients love it, and whenever they walk into the center, they want to use it and they demand for it. So when something like this is coming from the patient, we have understood that whatever we have built based on feedback has been working really well, and our therapists and patients are enjoying what we have done.
Chirag, it's good to know that already you have positive feedback from the patients for your equipment. The role of therapist and patient motivation in the recovery process is indeed critical. It is impressive to see the measures you have taken to ensure that healthcare professionals receive proper training and patients receive personalized treatment plans. It's good to know all your treatment plans. Using robotics and VR to deal with the patient recovery in physical rehabilitation is not very common. Did you ever doubt the success or acceptability of your techniques?
Actually, this is very true, and I think so. It is a good thing to doubt whatever you are building. When you are in the zone of critical thinking, you will try and improve and make it better for the end user or the customer or the doctor or the patient. So, for the initial 2 years, we did not incorporate as a company at all. We were just a group of individuals who were highly motivated, trying to build something. If it benefits, only then we will form a company, is what we had decided. And I would say that almost 2.5 years we spent just doing this. This kind of helped us understand the magnitude of the problem and gave us the freedom to not uh, be scared of failure. So we tried different prototypes, we changed it across, and we built what the end user wanted and not what we knew how to build. So I think so there was a lot of doubts, and even now we have some adaptability. More than 20 units are there installed in the market, but we still feel that today also we have plans for doing clinical validation with prestigious medical institutions. So the validation of the product is there. We are also in trying to see how we can validate our product in different geographies. So we are planning to do at least 4 or 5 international deployments in this year. So anybody who is watching this and has connects outside India, feel free to recommend. So this will also help us validate whether this problem is being addressed not only in India but outside India as well. We are also trying to figure out whether this is a solution only for the urban population or for the rural areas as well. So we are trying to see if we can find some corporate partners, or we can partner with NGOs through CSR engagements and see whether we can deploy this in rural settings and provide them also the best rehabilitation tools. So we have some validation, but the process is still ongoing. So probably till we don't have 10,000 installations, I think so we still need to keep asking this question.
We wish you to have 10,000 installations very soon. It is inspiring to see that you have confidence in the potential of your technology to make positive impact in this industry. So, making patient recovery equipments for physical rehabilitation is a very specialized and demanding business. How challenging was it for you to start such a venture?
This is something which is very true. What started as a small project in college and taking it to a business was extremely challenging. 3 points, like you mentioned in the question itself. First is domain expertise is not only engineering, you also require medical knowledge and domain specific knowledge, which is medical, also physical rehabilitation. The second aspect is we are quite young as students just starting off for the first venture. So prior business experience was lacking. So we also had to kind of learn all of that during the process. And the third thing is we had to do this in a very frugal budget and a resource constrained environment, because it is not so easy to start a business without adequate resources. And our journey has been one hell of a ride. We enjoyed some moments. We've been down in the dumps. So it's all been a graph of continuous learning and growth for both me and my team. Some few areas which were extremely challenging, to name specifically three, probably was the first decision to take probably set that goal for yourself that, you want to build this. So after the Smart India Hackathon, the first decision that we took was, we gave up our campus placements and we said, yeah, okay, we don't know what we are going to do, how this is going to help us, or what is going to happen in a career. But let's kind of, take this decision to build this. Uh, this is a technology or tool which will help patients recover uh, from cases like stroke, paralysis, orthopedic injuries, what all. I think so. That was the most challenging and scary decision that we took because probably all of our friends were going somewhere outside India or taking up jobs, and you are out there doing your thing in that room. The second most challenging phase was probably COVID, where though we had by touch of luck a few grants, but we couldn't get that money into our banks because of some issues which came up during COVID. And the team there came out on top. All of our team was hell bent on working even if we couldn't draw salaries, etc. So kind of helped us a lot go through that phase. But that was definitely a very challenging journey. And third part is, trying to take the decision of going from a project phase to a company phase. So in this, we had a very clear metric that if we find a buyer for a device, probably that is when we will, start a company about it. And luckily, we found a few early people, customers whom we met at conferences and through demos, even during COVID, who kind of supported us and told us, what you're doing is good, and we will probably buy this from you. So give us your machine, and that kind of helped us build a company. And I think so. We are now facing a lot more challenges like fundraising. Now launching in India is a different story. The quality requirements, the regulatory requirements are very different from launching in the US, the Europe, or across the world. So the bigger challenges are that now we have overcome the first barrier of taking that decision. But let's see how the story will unfold.
Really, it's inspiring to see that you overcame the obstacles through persistence, hard work, and passion. We wish you whatever the challenges you face and make it as a opportunities for your product. How did you make the product validation at the level of medical professionals as well as the patients, Chirag?
So there were three phases to this. The first phase was through literature, which is secondary market research. We went through probably hundreds of clinical studies, and probably that kind of helps you make a basic assumption because this technology is probably new to the segment we are addressing, but in the world, robotic rehabilitation exists for 20 years. So we could back our work based on those secondary research documents. So there is research on how robotic and virtual reality or games are helping physiotherapy patients, and we kind of use that as a reference to draw the first one. The second is to understand whether this is relevant to the technology that we are developing. So we have always been in touch with a wide number of physiotherapists. So we always try and take this approvals or feedback right from the early decision making of the product from our esteemed panel of advisors, and they have been very upfront in giving us those feedback early on in the design phase, which ensures that the technology that we are building is similar to the secondary research that we have done and is also consistent with the Indian ecosystem, and it will be helpful in this in terms of commercial and both technological and clinical perspective. And the third aspect is actual validation. Once we had the necessary quality standards approved, we have predominantly tested this device with more than 200 patients before we actually went out and started selling. So staying within the legal framework, we kind of validated it with proper consents from the therapists, and they kind of helped us do that. And in this, one thing we did was our team compulsorily spent probably more than a month in a physiotherapy center with the machine and the patients and the therapists. So we also got first-hand experience on how the machine was being used, where the problems were, how the features need to be improved, etc. So yeah, this was not a very simple problem to solve, and we are continuously trying to improve the validation that we have and the market acceptability that can be derived based on that validation.
Yeah, yes, Chirag, it's impressive to see the measures you have taken to ensure that your products meet the needs and expectation of medical professionals and patients. Every innovator need to concentrate more on their product validation. Chirag, how and when was the product accepted commercially and how did the demand unfold?
Probably 3 years back, just before COVID in December, we went to a physiotherapy conference with our prototype, and there we met our first customer, Dr. Gajanan Balerao, who is also our very close advisor from Pune. So he told us that he would incorporate our technology into his clinical practice. And we were all high and mighty. Okay, we found our first customer. We started the company incorporation process. And as soon as March 2020 came, COVID unfolded and everything went under a lockdown. So demand could not be scaled very significantly. But as soon as things got better, we did deploy one machine into their clinic. But we changed our approach. We said, now we don't want to sell. So you just test it and let's get feedback. So it took us a while, probably 1 year of improvements. And in June 2021, we made our first official sale to a clinic in Mumbai. Post that, we have been getting a lot of customer referrals, and probably 1 year while improving on the product, we deployed and onboarded around one customer a month. So, and luckily, this was all through customer referrals. We did not have a sales and marketing team. And after these successful deployments, after then the new regulatory procedures came into picture, and we had to get the necessary certifications. Last year, again, we started selling, and we've been doing probably 1 or 2 units a month again. So this is more focused, and now we are expecting 3 installations in the next month. We are seeing things pick up. So uh, yeah, now the demand will unfold a bit better is what we are looking at.
Yeah, good to know that you have at least 3 installation per month. Thank you for sharing the journey of your product from the development to commercial acceptance. It's exciting to see the demand for your technology increasing and the positive impact it's having on patients. Chirag, marketing is a critical component of any successful business strategy. Without effective marketing, it can be difficult to reach the potential customers. How are you marketing your products now? Is it based more on the referrals or typical sales and marketing avenues work for you?
Like you mentioned, marketing is very critical, but we have to understand the domain and accordingly adjust the marketing plan. So I don't think so. A very typical sales and marketing plan will work for either Rymo or for any other company. They have to customize it to their needs. But our marketing and PR efforts are focused more on awareness because this is a new concept, new technology. So we try and be present in all the scientific events that are predominantly focused for physiotherapy. Indian Association of Physiotherapists, Society of Indian Physiotherapists have been closely associated with our journey. We have tried to be there at their events right from our early incorporation days, idea stage to our current focus right now. And currently, we have some awareness in this industry. People know about robotic and Rymo. So going forward, what we have done is to expand the reach. We definitely need more people and expertise on the ground. So we are trying to partner with people who are experienced in this domain. So we can focus on the technology and we have good people who can help us do the sales and marketing.
Yeah, great. So it is important you need to invest time and resources into marketing efforts in order to achieve a long-term success and growth. So it's great to know that you have participated in many conferences and you have reached out to your target audience through that. Today, how are you positioned as compared to your competitors?
So the single word I would say in India, our positioning is value for money. Whenever a physiotherapist is buying our product, probably we are one of the most expensive products in their center. So our focus is to ensure that our quality and product utility is on par to their expectations. They should not feel that it is an splurging spend that they've done, but it is an utility spend and which is helping the patients and their business, which is a physiotherapy center. So what our positioning right now is based on value for money. But if you look at competitors, mostly all the competition right now is imported in the robotic segment, and all of that due to the extra customs, etc., and also their R&D processes has given us a very big competitive advantage in terms of the pricing and the space requirements. Our devices are probably 10 times more affordable and accessible because of both the space requirements, the clinical training, etc. But one thing that we've identified, which is the biggest advantage for an Indian company and for Rymo, is that our customer support is indispensable. Being an Indian company, we are able to resolve customer problems in matter of days, if not hours. And whether it is an imported product, generally this timeline could go into months, if not weeks. So this ensures that a patient benefit is continuously happening. A therapist is not facing much discomfort, and we are able to maintain a clear positioning of extremely great customer support and super best in class value for money for our products.
So it's good to know that customer satisfaction and the customer support is the key value, and you are in such a way you are just positioning your startup with other competitors. Great. So what kind of growth have you seen so far, and what are your targets for the future?
So we have seen tremendous growth in terms of number of deployments. In probably the first 2 years of our journey, we had only around 10 installations. In the last 6 months, we have made more than 10 installations. So our concentration of number of installations is growing significantly. Like I mentioned, in this year, we are looking at more than 50 installations in India. New installations is what I'm talking about. With the help of our channel partners, with the help of the positive word of mouth that we are getting from our customers. And in the long term, so let's say 5 years down the line, Rymo's signal focus is to be a global company. So, and how do we do that? So, here I would like to quote a dialogue from Three Idiots कि आप excellence के पीछे भागो, success अपने आप आएगी. So what Rymo is focusing on improving our product quality and adherence to international standards. Once we are ready in terms of regulatory and quality for US, Europe, we are sure that we will not only see 10,000s of installation, probably we can even surpass that value. We can probably not only affect thousands of patients, but help millions of patients, and not only help hundreds of therapists, but help millions of therapists also. So that is how we look at growth. We definitely want to grow our business, our startup 100x, but we want to do it in a very structured manner. We are kind of looking very positively on growth, and with the right support from the ecosystem, I think so we'll be able to do that.
Great. Listening to your future plans, it's clear that you have a clear vision for success. We wish you the best of luck in achieving your targets and continuing to grow your business. Chirag, you have established a successful business using your expertise in the space of robotics and VR. What guidance would you like to offer to the budding entrepreneur who wish to make a mark in this space?
We have probably touched a surface. Probably again, I think so. We are like this industry is like an iceberg. The more you go into it, the bigger it is. But according to me, based on my learning so far, I think so early entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs should focus on the first thing and most important thing, that is identification of a problem. And here they should always look at three critical factors. The first is their intent to solve that problem. Probably if it is only money because of which you want to solve a particular problem, I think so you should take a step back and reflect, because the journey is going to be hard and it might not be always give you enough motivation to cross through those hurdles. The second is try and look at the impact that your solution can create, or how big the problem is. If it is a problem which is concentrated to a very few people, probably it is good idea to solve it as a research problem and help scale it using a technology transfer. But if it's only a big enough problem, you should try and get into a business, because then you will have to, you know, figure out a way to sustain yourself for the next 5, 10, probably 50 years down the line. So look at the opportunity, how big the problem is, and how fast the problem is growing. And last but not the least, make sure that you value team above everything else. If you look at it from an individual standpoint, things will become very difficult. But if you have a good founding team, probably any problem that comes thrown your way, you'll be able to go through it. So yeah, that probably is what we've understood. The most important thing is problem. Rest all you can figure out on your way. If you have the right problem and a good team, you can probably solve any problem in this world.
Great, Chirag. As you rightly said, identification of the problem and hunger to solve the problem with a good team is very much important. Thank you for sharing your valuable insights and advice. I'm sure our audience will find it very helpful. I appreciate you sparing the time to share the experiences and advice with us today. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors, both in your business and personal life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this insightful session. It has been a pleasure sharing our experience to younger audience or older audience, people who want to venture into this industry or entrepreneurship. I hope that people learn from our experience and can, solve even bigger problems, which will in the end impact probably ourselves and the entire humanity. So thank you so much again for inviting us and covering our story. All the best to all the audience members who are trying to start a business.
Thank you. Thank you, Chirag.
Thank you.
So that's all for today. We will meet some more motivating entrepreneurs in the upcoming episodes. Till then, stay tuned for more such inspiring stories. Goodbye.